There are many reasons why a game becomes obscure or forgotten. Some because of poor sales, and others because its mechanics were ahead of its time. Destiny of an Emperor is not one such game. I only got wind of this NES RPG because someone on Twitch was playing it, and I thought it looked cool for what it was. Unfortunately, this was a case of what you see is what you get. The development of Destiny of an Emperor is not all that complex. It was developed and published by Capcom, released for the NES in September 1990 in North America. Fun fact, according to Wikipedia, one of the designers was Yoshiki Akamoto. This is the guy who worked on games like the arcade game Towers and would go on to start up a game development studio called Game Republic in 2005. That company ultimately failed and shut down in 2011. Sure, the team did release a good game in Genji Dawn of the Samurai. The problem was that they couldn't generate big enough hits to make a profit. Now that we have our history lesson out the way, let's jump into the storyline. The story of the game is based on Hiroshi Motomiya's manga Tenchi wo Karo, which follows the story of the popular Chinese historical figure Liu Bei and sworn brothers Zhang Fei and Guan Yu. The story is loosely based upon the events of Lu Guanzong's dramatic novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which itself is based on historical events and battles which occurred during the Three Kingdoms period of ancient China. Trust me, unless you have the manual, the game barely gives you any plot outside of "we're getting attacked by these guys, go help," or "the guys are on the run, go finish them off." The graphics are okay. If you ever played a Romance of the Three Kingdoms game on the NES, or a game with a similar style to Ultimate 3 or 4, then you understand how it looks. It's not as good looking as Final Fantasy, but it is on par with games like Sweet Home or Ultima 4. My biggest problem is how repetitive it can get. It feels like there's only 3 or 4 different enemy types, and all your units tend to blend into each other. It lacks any sense of menace, and it really doesn't feel like you are threatened when they look like a little bit different than your average enemy. The audio is okay. If you're into old school 8-bit NES music, there will be stuff to enjoy. Personally, it failed to leave an impression on me. It does its job fairly decently, but it isn't going to set the world on fire, and I have a hard time remembering even like one track from this game. The gameplay is tedious. Trust me, if you ever want to play a game that's nothing but grinding and you already finished Hydlide, then this is your go-to game. The gameplay is pretty simple. Go from town to town fighting generals and recruiting characters. Typical RPG fare, but to change it up, you can recruit the generals that you defeat. You can recruit characters by defeating them in battle and offering them a bribe to join you. I've heard there's a total of 115 different generals to unlock. Before we go into why this game stinks, the game had some cool ideas. You get a party of 5 characters in battle, with 1 being your strategist, few to be in reserves, and a place in town to swap out the characters not in your party. An interesting idea in theory. You can swap out based on situations and trade your worse characters for better ones. The problem is that there are several things that piss me off about the fights. First is that the encounter rate is too damn high. Fights happen around every 5 steps, and only if you are lucky will you go from one town to another and not fight 5 groups of enemies. Another problem I have is that the fights are tedious. I know this is something you have to deal with when you play NES RPGs, but fights take forever. Enemies rarely do enough damage for you to care, and it takes forever to get through a turn. Thankfully, you can have your units automatically attack your opponent. That's until you press the B button so you can heal your character. The only problem I have with this is that your units are morons. They rarely attack units with 1 or 2 HP left to defeat them. This often leads to another unneeded strike from the opposing squad. The last problem I have is how much grinding there is. I know this is something you have to deal with when you play older RPGs, but you're almost always grinding. You grind to get level up, new weapons, and I hope you keep an eye on your food, because you gotta keep that high, which means more grinding. All these elements make the gameplay a real test of your patience. Overall, Destiny of an Emperor is a horribly aged RPG. The grinding, the high encounter rate, and the forgettable story make this game a chore to finish. I can't recommend it to people outside of fans of games like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms games. This game needs the patience of a saint to finish, and really isn't worth your time. Personally, I give it a 3.5 out of 10.